So today, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to uncover a universal blueprint for success by connecting two worlds that seem, completely unrelated. A pharmaceutical sales guide from Bangladesh and the very foundations of modern governance. And I know what you're thinking, but at their core, both are about strategically managing complex human systems. You'll be surprised to find a single powerful strategy that applies to both. Okay, let's dive in.
I mean, it's a huge question, right? Do we just stumble into our greatest achievements, or do we build them piece by piece with a clear plan? Is success just a happy accident, or is it an act of architecture?
You might be wondering, what on earth could a sales guide and government strategy possibly have in common? Just stick with me here. I promise by the end of this, you'll see how the exact same principles for success apply to both, revealing a scalable formula for engineering success in any system you can think of. All right, let's start with our first source. It's a guide for pharmaceutical sales reps, and it introduces this really fascinating concept, the idea that a salesperson isn't just a seller, they're an engineer. And look, this isn't just some fancy job title. The guide really frames the job as a deliberate, systematic process. It argues that success isn't about some kind of natural charisma, it's about a structured workflow where you apply science, strategy, and genuine human connection to get a predictable outcome. You literally become an engineer of your own success. So this whole system breaks down that engineering process into three really clear stages. First, you've got your input. That's all your raw material, right? The product knowledge, the market data, what your customers need. Then comes the process. This is where the magic happens. Communication, solving problems, building trust. And finally, the output isn't just a sale. It's a tangible result. We're talking new prescriptions, stronger relationships, and real brand value. Okay, so that's the system. But how does this engineer actually go about building success? Well, the guide lays out a really clear blueprint, and it's built on a few core pillars. This right here is a massive mindset shift. The guide is basically telling the salesperson, hey, stop seeing your territory as just a list of calls to make. Instead, you need to view it as your own small business. You are the CEO of your territory. You're responsible for strategy, for growth, for managing all the key players. That sense of ownership, that's the foundation for everything else. The second pillar is all about relationships. The book just hammers this point home again and again. You're not just selling a product. You are building trust with key people like doctors and pharmacists. And this trust, it becomes the actual currency you're working with. Without it, you can't influence decisions, you can't build any kind of long-term success. Simple as that. And finally, the third pillar is internal. It's all about your mindset. The guide draws this sharp contrast between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. A sales engineer with a growth mindset doesn't see a no from a doctor as a failure. Nope. They see it as data, a chance to learn something, to adapt their strategy, and to come back even stronger. That resilience is a core engineering quality. And honestly, this quote from a mentor cited in the book, a Mr. M.A. Wadood, it just nails the entire concept. The field isn't a battlefield, it's a classroom. Every single interaction is an opportunity to learn and to refine your engineering process. Okay, so we've got our blueprint for success in one little sales territory. Now, let's zoom out, like way out. What happens when we apply this exact same thinking to a much larger, much more complex system? This is the key question, isn't it? Can these same principles of strategic ownership, trust building, and adaptive learning be applied to something as massive as a government agency or a multinational corporation? Well, as we're about to see, the answer is a big, resounding yes. And this is where our second source comes in, the concept of integrated governance. Just look at that definition for a second. It's all about aligning different people and building a resilient system to achieve a shared goal. Think about a massive public health initiative. It needs the health ministry, logistics companies, local governments, and the media to all work together perfectly. That's integrated governance. Sound familiar? It should. Okay, here we go. This is the moment it all clicks together. This is where the two worlds connect. We're about to see how the sales engineer's personal tactics are, in fact, just micro versions of large-scale systemic strategies. And boom, there it is. This slide just lays out the direct parallel. The sales engineer's strategic plan for their territory, that's just strategic systems design at the macro level. Building trust with individual doctors and chemists, that scales up to become multi-stakeholder collaboration. Handling objections from one person is a form of adaptive problem solving for the whole system. And that winner's mindset, that's exactly how you build organizational resilience. It is the same blueprint, just on a totally different scale. Let's just double-click on that idea of trust as currency because it's so important. At the micro level, the sales engineer builds that personal, one-on-one trust to get a prescription. At the macro level of governments, leaders are building systemic trust between entire groups, agencies, companies, the public, to successfully get a policy off the ground. The goal might be different, but the fundamental engine, building trust to drive action, is identical.
So, what's the big takeaway here? Whether you're managing a sales route or running a country, you are not just a participant. You are an architect. You are an engineer of success. So let's boil this all down into a few universal principles you can use anywhere.
All right, here they are. First, be an engineer. Actively design your system. Don't just react to it. Second, remember that trust is your most valuable asset. You have to invest in it. Third, connect the silos. Real breakthroughs happen when you bridge the gaps between different people or groups. And finally, build for resilience. See challenges not as failures, but as learning opportunities that make the whole system stronger.
And that brings us to the final question for you. This blueprint isn't just for salespeople or policymakers, it's for anyone trying to build something, a project, a team, a company, or even just your own career. So take a look at your world and ask yourself, what system are you the engineer of?